everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl T. This is my first time doing something like this, so please bear with me with all the edits and the cuts. I'm trying to figure out how to do one of these overhead shots. If you're new, I am a corporate girly who likes to do art on the side. I actually used to do a lot of art when I was a kid, but kind of lost the passion for it after high school, and I've just refound it during COVID. So I thought what I would do today is take you guys through one of my old sketchbooks from high school. It's actually from 2012 to 2013, so it's been about 10 years since I did this sketchbook. But I will say it's a very important sketchbook to me because that was the time I really decided to lock in and go through my blue period era. So you'll see a lot of studies in here and a lot of things that I learned during that period. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the sketchbook. It's a really basic sketchbook. It's literally from typo, I'm pretty sure, and it's really old. You'll see like all of the edges and stuff are scuffed because I used to bring this with me to school and I used to draw during my free periods. There might be some stuff in here that might be blurred just because it might be personal or doesn't need to be part of the whole picture, but you'll still get the right idea, I think. As you can tell, this was 90 pages. I had calculated that I was gonna draw 90 pages in October to April, so in about 6 months time. And this was from October 2012 to April 2013. I don't know why I notarized it like this. That's kind of confusing, but 90 pages in 6 months, which when you think about the fact that I was also in school full time at the time, and I'm pretty sure I also had a job at that point, it's all the time that I could squeeze to draw that I put into this. First page, really simple. I was really intimidated by the first page of my new sketchbook, so I just drew whatever it was that was around me at the time, which was the Amazing Spider-Man, and I, labeled what pencil I used and everything. Looking back on it, it's not bad, honestly. Like, at this point, I hadn't really studied the body all that much, and I think some of this shading is actually pretty good. Some nightmarish Toy Story content here. And this was probably where I decided to start going through all the saved pictures that I had on my laptop, which is like from Tumblr and Pinterest and things like that, of other people's drawings. Now, because I never intended to post any of these, I know it's kind of taboo to copy other people exactly, or even if I'm just referencing their picture. But because it's just for studying and to understand how people can be so gestural, like you can see here, I tried to draw the way that they did it, and then I tried to understand what I did wrong and I redrew it. It's more just for me to study. It wasn't like I did this for the purpose of copying someone else. I just did this to sort of try and study and understand what my own style could look like. But yeah, I really like the style that this person did their art in, and I enjoyed the really sketchy style of it as well. Originally by Regal Tang. We love a good credit to the original artist. Some more studies. This is where I try to get like really scrapbooky with it because I'd seen a lot of really nice spreads online of people who had written music lyrics and then did sketches around it, and all that I can say about this is I'm not a scrapbook girly. It's just not who I am. This was some, what are they called? A zoo something? One of those things where you can see each frame of the animation and it's in a circle and you spin it and that's how you see the animation. This song is Love in the Time of Human Papillomavirus, which at the time I was really into. So I kind of just thought I would listen to the song and draw whatever came to mind, and this was kind of what it was. But I don't know, I just don't think I'm that kind of person who can make more abstract style art, or at least I wasn't that comfortable with it at the time. After drawing those birds, I'm pretty sure I decided to go and practice birds a little bit more. I wasn't too happy with that, so I did some studies, and I did some lighting studies as well, it looks like. More animal studies and the Fire Princess from Adventure Time. I'm pretty sure this was also someone else's drawing that I did a study of. I did some freehand Walking Dead zombies because I was watching a lot of The Walking Dead with my dad at the time, but you can kind of tell that I only drew faces front facing because after I studied how to draw a face from the front, I just like didn't try and learn it from other angles. So that's kind of what we ended up with, but that was kind of cool actually. And I think from this, I was watching Princess Mononoke and I decided to just draw something like this. I don't know, it's really random. And then I did some studies. I think I took this book around with me to a few places, but this might be at the train station or the airport, it looks like. Some more studies of picture I had saved. I think this was also Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm not sure, but this was definitely a Benedict Cumberbatch. He did a cover for Empire, it looks like, and some other train studies while I was on the train. This is where we start getting into animals and like proper studies. These are some pictures of a black Frisian horse that I found and I adored because it looks so silky and smooth. Put a lot of effort into this, I remember. And then it was the tigers. This came out actually so good. I wasn't sure what it would be like, but I did this and then I was like, dang, okay, I can do this. So then I do this one, which I also am really happy with. And this is the one from We Bought a Zoo. So this, I guess, is like a 3/4 tiger page dedication. Then I tried to switch up my style and do some body studies without actually studying any body parts. So I took some magazine spreads and I tried to understand how each body was blocked. But as you can tell, not super successful because I didn't understand anything in relation to the actual parts of the body and how they move and things like that. And then I did a little bit of fashion drawing and then gave up very quickly. Here you can see I did some studies from, I think it was a editorial for some ballet dancers. And I actually really enjoyed how dynamic all of their poses are, which was why I did these spreads. And then this page, I adore this page. I took my sketchbook to Melbourne Zoo and I actually just freehanded all of these, just sitting there at the different enclosures. And like this monkey, when I say this monkey, I was so proud of, look at his little hands. Look at his little fingers. And he's so cute. I was actually really happy with the ones that I did of the monkey enclosure. And this just really reminds me of that new pygmy hippo who's like famous because she's so sassy and she's like only a couple months old. She's just been born. But yeah, I think I did really well on this page and then I got some hubris after the gorillas and I tried to draw the tiger. To be fair, the tiger barely ever came out. If it came out, it would just like walk through the enclosure once and then go back into hiding. So I drew most of this from memory, but not my best work. The elephant's not bad. Strangely lumpy here. I'm pretty sure that's not the shape that they were, but again, I think I did a lot of this from memory. So I just stopped. I stopped while I was ahead. Some more studies of picture that I saved. This is Matt Smith. If you know, you know. Now, this is where we get into proper studies. I made a lot of notes, but again, it was just pictures that I had gotten from Tumblr and Pinterest and things like that. And this one as well was an anatomy study that I wanted to do more in terms of shading. Then we get into actual body parts because I thought it's probably time that I start learning how to draw proper body parts. This skeleton set I never finished, but I do remember I was drawing this while listening to Cabin Pressure, which Benedict Cumberbatch also starred in. It was like a podcast series. That's actually really funny. If you can find a copy somewhere to listen to, I highly recommend it. Now, this is my blue period era. Basically what I did was I found a bunch of other people's studies, their pictures online, and I just copied what their studies look like. So it's not even like this was an actual person and I'm drawing the shape of the actual person. I just drew their version of this because I needed to know exactly which lines they were putting down where in the simplified form. And it kind of became this exercise where I would start learning how to draw in this style through muscle memory. And it was actually, for me at least, it was super helpful because it was almost as if I could understand the relationship between where lines go and the way that your eye can interpret what it's looking at. Like if you look at this line here, that's literally just the line of the muscle in your neck connected to the collarbone. But it's like, I didn't have to learn about the muscle in your neck and the collarbone in order to understand that that's what it does. And that's the way it looks from this angle, looking down on it. Similarly, I did some more of these, and this crisscross action here that you can see on the shoulder, that was also really helpful somehow. I didn't think about it in that way, but like this jaw situation as well, I found that really helpful. So it's just whatever works for you, but I found that this approach worked really well for me. I did do some studies on my own where I would look at an actual picture and try and draw it in that style since doing all of that. But there are also a lot of other ones that I did that are still in this style because it's good to also just keep refreshing your understanding of it. Again, did a lot of studies. These feet studies were actually really good because I had it broken down into sections where you can see the under layer is a little bit lighter. So that broke down the actual mechanics and shape of the foot and the lines of movement. And then the harder lines is the outline of the foot, which then basically shows you what you would see with your naked eye. And this section I'm actually really proud of, and I'm really happy with the way it came out, even though it is just for practice. Then I thought, oh, how do bird wings actually work? Because I've always enjoyed drawing them, but I have zero idea how it can be folded and all that stuff. So I did a bunch of studies on bird wings where I color-coded everything. It's actually very fun. Not that it ever really amounted to anything, but I had a lot of fun studying it, and I think that was the whole point. So then I went into how you can incorporate it into drawings of people that have wings. And then I did a bunch of birds, because why not? Back to studies. If you can understand this reference, we can be friends. But a lot of other studies. This was a fictional creature that I had come up with. As you can tell, I grew up with the Dragonology book as a kid. But it's a fictional creature that I created like probably back in primary school, and I just decided to bring it back and rehash it. So it's just something a little baby me cooked up as a kid, and I wanted to see it in a more mature art style. Back to studying. Now it's hands, the great cursed hands. Took a break, drew some other things, back to hands. This was a study that I actually did in the art room. Wow, it's crazy how cursive my handwriting was back in school. Because we don't usually do still life studies. This was actually set up in the other art room. So we had 2 art rooms next to each other, and there was like a doorway in the middle. We usually do our work in the main art room, but the other art room would sometimes be used if there was like overflow or a second class that was happening. And these skulls, I don't know where they came from. I'd never seen them before, but they were set up in the other art room in like a still life situation. So I assume there were some life drawing lessons going on after school that I didn't know about, but I just went in during my lunch period or like my spare period, and I just drew these. And I actually had a lot of fun just drawing like a still life like this, especially when I added these like crispy lines. I was like, oof, that's yummy. But it was a really interesting study because, as you can tell, this ram's head, I'm gonna say, doesn't actually have a bottom jaw, so it was basically lifted off the table, but it had a lot of different jagged lines and interesting shapes and shadows, which I really enjoyed. Then I did some horse studies. I don't know what's going on here. I think I was just like, these are the 3 different ways a man and a horse can be incorporated, I guess. Now we're doing eye studies. This was also kind of fun, but with the eye, it was a little bit difficult because it has so much emotion in it. It's hard to just break it down into the fundamentals of an eye, and now that you know how to draw an eye. But again, I just did a lot of practices with pictures that I had saved. If you can recognize any of these faces, that is very, very impressive. Then I decided to use some random idea generators because I was bored of studying, and this was main characters from a story that I had been working on at the time that never came to fruition. You'll never see it, but the idea was basically for all of them to dress up as characters for Halloween. And actually, looking back on this dynamic, I think it's very, very similar to the characters that I have now on my art account. So that's very interesting, actually. More studies. These I actually think are just studies that I did by myself. So more prompt generators. These are like different aspects of a creature, and you have to come up with what the creature looks like based on that. And then I did some life drawing online. So these are just where they'll give you poses for this amount of time, and you can just do your sketches like this. So I did a lot of practice. I remember like these are all 30-second practices. These are 15-second practices, and then 10-second practices. I was fighting for my life, and a lot of these I remember. Like these lines are just straight where there's a leg because I couldn't get anything on the page fast enough. I did more that were 30 seconds, and that was about it for that day, I think. And then it's just more pictures that I had saved and practices. And I think this was from a picture book that I really enjoyed. I used to have this habit when I was a kid where if I liked a picture in a book or in a manga and it's from the library, I would copy that picture into like a sketchbook. So I would just draw from reference looking at it and make a replica so that I would have a copy that I could have at home once I returned the book. And yeah, I guess I kept doing it when I was in high school. If I saw something really nice, I would just copy it down so that I have my own copy and my own version. But I do remember this was a really interesting book, and I felt that the mix of realistic looking animals with realistic looking clothing or like settings was really, really interesting. And like this little frog in this little crinkly shirt, like the details of the crinkles are actually very well done. I'm very impressed. But then again, I obviously wasn't pressing very hard because I was scared that I would make a mistake. More studies of drawings that I had saved. I think I just did a random little sketch. We don't talk about this one. I don't know what happened. I think I was trying to draw from a picture reference and it just did not come out well. More studies from other people's studies. More random sketches. Now, studies of people's studies. This was really intense. Someone broke it down into the fundamental shapes, well, even just like shapes with angles, and then like the actual human figure with then muscles and planes. Like that, this was super hectic, but I really liked it. They did the same thing for the leg. This was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed this. And similarly, they did it from all the different angles as well. This was the back and the neck. This was super interesting. I still don't really understand this. I'll have to go back to studying fundamental anatomy, I think, but it was really, really fun. And then these were all of the shoulders and the arm studies. Really intense study here. This is when you know that like you should probably study biomed or some form of biology. If you're gonna be an artist, you may as well, like you're gonna have the experience anyway. A little bit of study on the nose here, and then lots and lots of hands. So these are actual people who I just drew references from. This is no longer studies of people studies, but I think these were studies of people studies. More hand references. So these were real life ones that I copied, I think. Some more sketches. Now, I would do this thing where if I'm studying a drawing and I make a drawing of it, I will make a note of every single thing that looks different from the reference, and I will draw it again with that thing in mind. So as you can see from this drawing of someone's reference, I drew it over and over and over and over and over and over and over until it looked closer to what I had looked at in the very beginning. And that's just the way that I learn best. Did some drawings of the Flash, I think from another picture that was already there. Similarly with these. Jack Frost, because if you didn't have a crush on Jack Frost, you're joking yourself. I'm pretty sure these were supernatural studies that I did from just pictures on Tumblr. A little bit more. And a random picture of Swan Lake and someone who looks like Kaya Scodelario staring at you. Some more wings, I think from Tumblr, and hands. These are just random pictures at this point that I'd saved that I'm trying to do my studies of so then I can delete them. Again, I do the same thing. I draw it, everything that's different, I draw it again. I draw it again. Some more studies of a little fawn person. I think I named them Tummy. I remember this actually. I think I drew them in my school diary first. Oh yeah, this was the school diary picture and I cut it out because I kind of liked it. I think it was actually I think it was Mr. Tumnus or something from Narnia. This is the Avengers but as animals, because as you do. Oh, and a little heart that someone left me. Oh. Bruce Lee's foreign cousin, and a few more studies. And some of my friends from music camp. I will say, looking back, not all of them look super like how they look in real life, but I don't think I did a terrible job. I think I actually did quite good with some of them. Going off of that, some sketches of just random faces, like animal faces, I think, like hybrids. And then I tried to draw my version of the Sherlock characters. A little bit more studies, a little bit more studies, and a fun picture that I saw that I wanted a copy of. Another picture that I wanted a copy of, and this drawing of Andrew Garfield, which actually just, like, look at that first attempt. If at first you don't succeed, draw again and again. Other studies. And body gestures and drama class. This is actually insanely hard because everyone's moving all the time. I started it thinking that I could get some really good studies going, but it's actually just too distracting trying to pay attention in class and draw at the same time, which I probably shouldn't have been doing either. Some more studies. And again, with the hand, you'll see I draw it again and again and again and again and again. We're coming to the end, but finally it's again some studies of other people's studies of life drawing that they had done, and I really, really loved seeing the way that they would add shadow into their sketches. Of course, I had a lot longer with these than they had, but I have the benefit of already having all of the figures laid out in the composition on the page, and I really love this page. And that's the last page of my sketchbook. So that's me, 90 pages in 6 months. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in another video. Bye! We're gonna skip this page.